Hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo te llevas? ¿Cómo te llevas? ¿Cómo? How? Te? Do you? Llevas. Llevas is you carry. What does that mean? It means how are you going? How are you feeling? It's a very common way to say things. Literally, how to you carry. How are you carrying yourself? Just a quick way, a quick win, a quick learn. It's very common. I just greeted a 97-year-old friend down in the street and said, ¿Cómo te llevas? How are you? Okay, so we carry on with some quick wins, some usable things to sort out some confusions as usual. The confusions are about tapas. So this is being Spanish about tapas. You may have encountered tapas, inverted commas, in England. In England, they sort of turn it into an evening meal. That's not what tapas is. It's fine that they want to do that because they want you to enjoy some Spanish food, and that's fine. That's not a problem. I want you to understand what tapas and tapar actually is. Okay? So, it comes from una tapa. And una tapa is a lid or a plug. And they use that word because there are long distances between meals in Spain. So they want to have something just to fill a little hole, we might say. So una tapa is a lid. And tapar is to have a snack, to have something small to keep you going. So you can ir de tapeo. Ir de tapeo. Ir is to go, of tapeo is tapa. It means that what you do in Spain is you might go out for drinks with friends in the early evening and go around several bars and sample their wonderful tapas. You can have one or two or three to keep you going till supper time. So that's here the tapeo. Let's have a look at the clock. There's midday. There are opportunities during the whole day, but it starts mostly here between 10 and 11, because between 10 and 11 traditionally in Spain, the Spanish have what they variously call breakfast. Traditional Spain, they don't really have a proper breakfast like we English do. But what they love to do is have a tiny little something and go out and work, and then at about 10 o'clock they'll desayunar. Desayunar. That is the breakfast. And you breakfast yourself. So it's reflexive. And I want to use tapas to introduce you to these things. So reflexive means you do it to yourself. So if somebody says, what's your name? You say, me llamo. To me, I call Peter. Yeah? As I've said, we'll explore that more, but just to get you into that. Yo me desayuno pronto. I have breakfast early because I'm English, so I have breakfast maybe at 9 o'clock. Yo is I, me, to me, desayuno, I breakfast myself at 9. Okay? So that's just getting you into those things. And there are opportunities there from 10 in the morning right through. So most bars, which I've said before are social centres, as well as anything else, will have tapas available. Very common things, very, very good for just having a quick snack. As we look at the clock again, we go around to 4 or 5 o'clock. That's usually for children. It's time for merienda. but for everybody. That's the time to have another snack, because at 2 o'clock, traditionally always at 2 o'clock, we comer. We comer. Okay? Comer is to have lunch. In some places, particularly in the places where there is less farming, then lunch is el almuerzo. But you always comer. So for your sake, I would always just say a comer. Vamos a comer. Let's go and have lunch. Let's go eat. Vamos a comer. And then the biggest time for tapas is here. About 7:30 to 8:30 in the evening normally. Because la cena or cena, whichever you prefer, is supper or dinner. And la cena doesn't happen till 9, 10, depending on the season. Sometimes 11. So la cena is here. So they like to, the Spanish, like the French, like to, if you know some French, promenade. Here it's to dar vueltas, I mentioned those before, to do some circuits, but mainly it's pasear. Pasear is to stroll, to have a walk. And the Spanish love to walk around town, have a chat with their friends, maybe grab a tapa, una tapa, maybe have a beer with una tapa with friends. Every night, winter and summer. We have a lot of snow sometimes here. In the winter, people still go out every evening. That's why the Spanish love to live in town. They love to live in, not out. As English prefer to go out 5 miles and have on something a bit further out. But the Spanish love to live really together. And this tradition of pasear, un paseo is a stroll around to say hi, to reconnect with your friends. It's absolutely wonderful. Each day, you don't need to feel lonely. You can just wander around, have a walk, meet somebody, say hi. Everybody says hi, and so on and so on and so on. So this is all connected to tapas. So let's have a look at the actual tapas now. That's giving you an idea of what happens in Spain at those times. Not exactly those times, but at those times. So, we're talking about a quick snack. We're talking about una tapa. Okay? What form does the tapa take? You just look at them presented in the bar. Most of them are like that. But you can always ask for something else. What are they called? Madre mia. There are hundreds of them. So let's be sensible and make it easy. And they're happy with that. So all you need to do is to say this one or that one or the other one or what have you. So that's very easy. So it's una tapa, so it's feminine. Okay? And we can ask for esta is this one. Esa is that one. Okay? If you want two of them, it's just dos. De. Dos, de. Or whatever number you want. And you just put an S on it. Dos de estas, un de esa. No problem. The camarero, camarera will normally say a calentar. Oh, what's that? A calentar. Remember calor? Hace calor un poco? Do you want it warming? And lots of the tapas are much nicer when they're warm. So you just get your ear around that a little bit. A calentar? If not, no. If you do want it warming, sí. Bueno, no pasa nada. So don't bother at the moment trying to learn all the different dishes. As I've said, it's impossible. Half of them I still, you meet new ones every time you go in. So you can just point and smile and say, un esa, or otra esa, doesn't matter. Just point and say, gracias. Bueno, no problem. Or you can ask for una tapa de. Una tapa de, it's just, you're going to say something else. If you remember, if some of you saw the previous one of these when we were in the bar, I asked for una tapa de jamón y queso. Q, you remember, is k. That's a k sound. Una tapa de jamón y queso. Y bueno, no pasa nada. If you're not sure about something and you really need to know what's in it, we go back to my greeting. My greeting was, ¿Cómo te llevas? And llevar is to carry, but it's also refers to food. So if you want to know what's in something, within reason, because the explanation might be too complicated, just say, point at it, and say, ¿Qué lleva? What does it carry? What's in there? Or you can say, ¿Está pescado? Pescado with fish. Or you can say, ¿Lleva carne? Has it got meat in it? Maybe you're vegetarian. Gradually, the Spanish are really, really carnivorous. But gradually, more and more places, more and more bars are offering a vegetarian option. It's a little bit more difficult to say. Remember, the first one of these that I did, we used that wonderful general word, I. And you can then say, vegetariano, wide mouth, vegetariano. Ay vegetariano. In other words, you don't try to say, me gustaría una tapa vegetaria. Ay vegetariano. They'll point to them. They're not going to start throwing massive words at you. They'll point to them. Okay? So if you want a tapa, a vegetarian tapa, just say, ay vegetariano. You can also say, because even though it's not a tapa, really, as I said before, hay sopa. So there you go, that's getting you into it. Don't want to overcomplicate it, just point at them, and it's esa y esta. If it's near you, esta. If it's further away, esa. If there's two of them or three of them, say uno, dos, o tres, o cuatro, and just put a cert on the end. Cuatro de esas. Okay, that's how you ask for them. A calentar, would you like them warm? And that's about it. You don't have to pay for them, you don't have to do that. The other things that you can just keep in your head is that there are various sizes and quantities. The most common is una pincha, or un pincho, depending on whether it's a male or a female thing that you're after. So the most common thing that people tapar, I certainly love them, is tortilla. Remember me saying double L is Y? This is one of those words where tortilla is fine. Most people tend to say lia, doesn't matter. Una tortilla. Okay? So I go in regularly into Hakka and have a late breakfast, or maybe a bit of a tapa to keep me going to 2:30, 2:45 lunch. And I'll go in and say, hola buenas, me pone pinche tortilla y cortado. Me pone, I've done that with you, pinche tortilla y cortado. Cortado. But not cortado. Cortado. The most common coffee. Half milk, half the amount of milk of a milky coffee. More likely, if it's about 12:30, I'll go in and say, hola, buenas. Remember, don't bother with buenos dias or buenas tardes. Hola, buenas, hola, buenas, me pone pinche tortilla y caña, porfa. Oh, that's a new one, that's a quick one. Because you'll be worried that you're not saying please. Well, you can easily shorten it. Porfa. That's the youngsters' way of doing it. Porfa. Not por favor. Porfa. If you want to, okay? Me pone pinche tortilla y caña. Ya está. There you go. I ordered a beer, una caña, because particularly at that time of day, I'm not bothered about it being a particular beer in a bottle. No. I either have a beer or a coffee. So you can do that too. So that's una pincha. Cup of all. And then we won't do any more than that because you need to get all these settling in your mind. If it's something that you can't cut into pieces, then often they'll call it una ración. Una ración or ration. It speaks for itself. So if you had meatballs and you were really hungry in the early evening and you thought, wow, I'm starving, you might want to say, me pone una ración de albóndigas. Albóndigas. They're meatballs in sauce. Or if you want those but you're not that hungry, so have it as a tapa, you would simply say media ración. Me pone media ración de albóndigas, porfa. Easy, isn't it? There's not that much to it, so lots of pointing, lots of everything. Just not a lot of trying to explain in immensely polite English turned to Spanish what you want, because what I've just done with you is exactly what all Spaniards do. End of. Very simple. Una tapa is something to keep you going to the next meal. That's basically what it is. I've given you some examples of those. One of my favourites is, just before we finish, you know what these are? Sardinas. Wow, they have wonderful ones, about 8 or 9 inches long here, fresh ones, that they rush in. And my favourite little bar in Hakka has 2 old ladies who have a tiny little kitchen in the bar at the back, and they cook them in their own special mixture. They fry them in their own special mixture of herbs and garlic, and that's it. And they're absolutely beautiful. And you might think, oh, I can't afford that. No. A normal tapa, is about €2. These are a bit more expensive, and they give you a choice. Una docena, or, you get the idea now, media docena. Can you guess what docena is? Yeah, it is. Docena, it's a dozen. So things like that you will often buy as a dozen if they're small. Okay, so una docena is a dozen sardinas. Una docena de sardinas. Media docena sardinas. And they come fresh. they prepare them at that time, and they're absolutely beautiful. Okay, couple of last ones. They keep cropping up in my mind, so I want to stop because I don't want to drown you too much. The other thing associated with tapas is a picar. Picar can be like an insect, but picar is also, in its essence, with regard to tapas, it's something to pick at. Okay, so you can pick at almendras, and they'll often give you those free, because I can look out here out of the window across the valley and see, probably, if I bothered to count them, 500 almond trees that don't even get their nuts picked off them. So they'll often give you those. The other things they'll often give you is aceitunas. When you just go in and buy drinks in a bar, they'll often give you aceitunas. Okay, aceitunas verdes or negras, green or black. Normally they'll give you the aceitunas verdes because they're cheaper. So there's some picar things. You can ask for cacahuetes, unas. If you want to ask for some, it's unas or unos. They don't mind if you get the gender wrong. Cacahuetes, and they'll often not charge you for those either, because you're buying some drinks. Cacahuetes, maybe no, they're peanuts. Okay, so there's some different things a picar. And when you want to say I'm hungry, you have hunger in Spanish. Tengo is I have. Hambre is hunger. Ay, tengo hambre. Tengo hambre. Hola, buenas, tengo hambre. Me pone pinche tortilla y caña y a picar también unos cacahuetes. So I'm going to have a little bowl, like you buy in bars in England, of peanuts, and also I'm going to follow that with a big a big slice of tortilla. And the tortillas, the most popular, most traditional, the one I generally have, is tortilla de patata. And that one's pretty easy, isn't it? That's the standard tortilla with potato and onion in it. Okay? You can have de jamón, which is the jamón one. You can have tortilla de chorizo, or as Paul Hollywood with his hands in his pockets would say, chorizo. It's chorizo. Chorizo or chorizo. So you can choose a tortilla of any of those. Those are normal. You get other ones too. And if you want just they will make you one. Anyone will make you anything you want in any bar in Spain, as long as they've got time and it's not crazy. Then you can say no. I'd just like just a small omelette with nothing in it. That's fine. That's a tortilla francesa. Okay, francesa or francesa, a French omelette. And that just comes as a tiny little thing like we would make a plain omelette. They'll happily do that for you. They might charge you €3 for it. Most of the rest of these will be, as I've said, €2, €2.50. A dozen sardinas is about €5.50, because really you can't eat one yourself. I can't, certainly not as a tapa. So there's a whole range of things. I honestly recommend that you go through this video, go through it, get your head around it, and then you can ir de tapeo. The next time you're out, ir de tapeo, you can go out and do a bit of pub crawling. I don't mean pub crawling because the Spanish don't drink much, but they will have a beer. And you can go and order tapas in a relaxed way now. Me pone eso eso es, it doesn't matter, you're pointing. That's it. Una caña, un tinto, una copa de tinto, copa de blanco. It's all coming together. Now you can go in a bar and order the drinks, but you can also go in a bar and order a tapa. Just point and say, etc., etc. And as usual, they'll charge you at the end. Hope that makes sense to you. It should help you. That is the way the Spanish do it. I strongly recommend that you just practice a bit and have fun doing it next time. So we'll see you next time with some more really understandable Spanish.